Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by the Russell Berry Foundation, Cohn Resnick, providing accounting, tax, and advisory services for more than 90 years, the Fidelco Group, Fedway Associates, New Jersey Sharing Network, dedicated to saving lives through organ and tissue donation, Kessler Foundation, changing the lives of people with disabilities, and by the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, founded by the Jewish community. Promotional support provided by the Star Ledger, powering NJ.com, and by Commerce Magazine.
This is One-on-One.
When you first heard that they were doing Charlie Rose and Gayle King, didn't you go, what?
People like laughing at others, so I don't mind if the other is me.
See, you go right into the character. That's what it is.
I'm bringing families together a half an hour each week. Man, I'm doing something special.
And so I do feel successful.
Okay.
Steve said I can.
Yes. Welcome to One-on-One. I'm Steve Adubato. I want to introduce you to, for the first time here in One-on-One,
yes,
Jennifer Papa, who is the founder and executive director of City Green, an organization dedicated to
urban farming and community gardening.
Where?
Here in northern New Jersey. We started all of our work in Paterson, and so we work with community organizations, schools, faith-based groups, and we grow food on blighted urban areas and create access to healthy food and access to natural green spaces.
Why is that so important in urban areas, Jennifer?
It's the answer to that, I think, is twofold. There's not a lot of access to healthy, fresh, local food in some of these urban cities in New Jersey. So low-income families, are shopping at bodegas or have to take a lot of buses to get to a supermarket, where they can get fresh produce. And so here we are growing it right in their city and then selling it at markets right in their neighborhood. We also accept federal food benefits.
What does that mean?
That means like SNAP or WIC, or people can use their EBT card at our farm stand.
Hold on, a lot of acronyms there.
Okay.
WIC is women,
Food
infants, and
children.
Mm-hmm. SNAP is
Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
And so it means that the federal government, programs that are subsidized by the federal government directly support your efforts.
Yes.
So people can benefit from those. But here's the other piece of this whole equation, which is interesting. We met your organization through the Berry Foundation, the Russ and Angelica Berry Foundation. You won the Russ Berry Award for making a difference. Mm-hmm. Explain what the award is and why it means so much to your organization.
The Russ Berry Foundation Award is for unsung heroes, I guess, for people who are working really hard in fields, trying to make a difference in communities that they work in. That don't necessarily get a lot of attention.
That's right.
And so for us, it brings a lot of great attention to our organization. We spend a lot of time, we have a very small staff that works very hard, and so we spend a lot of time focusing on our programming and serving the communities that we work in. So to bring that kind of attention to our organization is really wonderful.
It's interesting, the other thing that we're doing to partner with the Berry Foundation is doing a series of leadership and communication workshops with not-for-profit leaders, like your organization, like yourself. And it's interesting because a lot of people think, oh, nonprofits, those are people who are involved in charity work. And we help folks improve their communication, leadership skills, the way they present themselves in public. Mm-hmm. From your own perspective, why is that so important for an organization like yours?
It's super important because that is telling our stories and sharing the stories of the people that we impact and the work that we do is probably the best way to gain support for our work and for getting people to understand, the issues that we're working on. And so, being able to get some professional coaching in how to tell those stories and how to share that passion that we all feel when we're working in the field, it's priceless, really.
Explain to folks in that context, Jennifer, where your money comes from, because that is why telling this story is so critical.
Money comes from foundations and from individual donations and from some government grants, like county grants. Passaic County is a good supporter. Henry Maryland Taub Foundation, Geraldine R. Dodge Foundation. These are organizations that we write grants to and then, help fund our work.
It's interesting. So, a not-for-profit often has to run itself, I hate people say this, like a business. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
Well, it means that besides just focusing on the needs in the community that we're trying to address, we also have to make the payroll or, deal with human resources and pay rent and things like that. So
no one's throwing money at you because you're doing good things. No one says, oh, you're really nice people, here's a bunch of money for just because we like you. It doesn't happen that way.
It doesn't happen that way, no. Although individuals sometimes happen that way. You know, individual donors, you know, they get involved, they volunteer, they see firsthand the impact of your work, and sometimes they'll, you know, be inspired to donate to the organization that way.
Talk about making a difference. Dirt to Table, that Dirt to Table initiative, what is it? Why is it so important?
Well, do you mean specifically our educational program, Dirt
Yeah, what
to
is
Table?
that?
So Dirt to Table is our after-school and summer garden program where we're working with children. We bring them up to our learning garden in Patterson Eastside Park.
Actually, do we have any pictures of that, team? Can we show some pictures as we're talking about it? Go ahead.
And
Dirt to Table.
So basically we're gardening with children, we're getting their hands in the dirt, and then we're teaching them where their food comes from.
Why is that important?
Well, because if you don't have any connection to your food, you don't understand why it's healthy for you. You know, you ask a kid, like, what did they eat for breakfast and where it came from, and they think it came out of a box and came from a supermarket, and they don't really know the whole story. And so to really understand and make healthy choices and understand the environmental impacts and things like that as they grow up, it's really important for kids to have that experience.
I'm often fascinated as to where, excuse me, the passion comes from for people who lead nonprofits. Where does your passion come from for this particular, I'm not even going to say topic, but cause? Where does your passion come from for this cause?
I think it comes from a deep belief in the power of beauty to change a community. I think people are inspired when they see beautiful things. I think that nature is inspiring. And I think that it comes from a real belief in food justice.
Food justice.
Meaning that everybody should have access to healthy food, and it shouldn't be, you know, a right of privileged people to be able to shop at a farmer's market and know their farmer and taste local healthy food, you know, that's organically grown, that's picked right when it's ripe. You know, it shouldn't be that only low-income families have to deal with processed food, old food. You know, we talk to people who say in the bodegas they shop in that the meat is green and the veggies are brown. You know what I mean? Like, they're not.
And some of us take for granted that that would never happen.
A lot of communities take that for granted, yeah.
And you say?
And I say that everybody should have that opportunity.
And the greatest impact you feel you're having today is?
I think that the greatest impact is, I guess, getting community members to realize that there are other options and to help be a part of the change themselves. So,
how does that feel?
It feels really great.
But still a long way to go.
A long way to go. It's hard work. It's challenging work. There's a lot of obstacles. You know, it's hard to work in some of these city neighborhoods. It's hard to navigate the political system sometimes.
Politics in New Jersey and the United States of America, how dare you
Easy,
imply
right?
that? But that's another reason why the leadership equation is so important, and being able to communicate your message.
Yeah, I mean, the cities we work in are super supportive, but you know, we're coming at it from one perspective and they're coming at it from another, and they support our work, but sometimes there's, you know, a lot of obstacles in the way.
That's why I have to keep fighting a good fight. Jennifer Papa is the founder, which is even, being the executive director is one thing, but being the founder.
Then your heart and soul is in it.
You're all in, aren't you?
I'm all in.
Of City Green. Keep up the good work. That's why the Russ Berry folks recognizing you, the foundation,
Thank you very
was
much.
the right choice. Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for having me.
See you soon. Stay with us. We'll be right back on One-on-One right after this. Thank you.
If you would like more information on this program, or if you'd like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Visit us online at oneonone.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Dr. Ravit Barkama is the Executive Director, Institute for Clinical Research, Holy Name Medical Center. How are you, Doctor?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
Important stuff going on at your place. Describe, first of all, what is a clinical trial?
So basically, a clinical trial is a way that we assess the safety and the effectiveness of drugs and devices. In many cases, new drugs and devices that aren't yet approved for commercial use by the FDA.
And the most important ones going on up at your place are?
We have a lot of important ones.
Just name two biggies. Because the one, I'll tell you the ones that caught my eye. The influenza drug study is? I mean, that's a big one, because I'm thinking about the whole, I'm thinking how many people, influenza, right?
Yeah.
What is that study?
So we have a drug called nitazoxanide that we're actually assessing. The study is sponsored by the Department of Defense, actually. And we're looking to find better drugs for influenza and ones that the influenza virus doesn't actually find ways to overcome.
Because sometimes don't we resist? Aren't some, help me on that, I'm confused sometimes. Some of the drugs, the resistance, no?
Right. And we're trying to find drugs that have less resistance or no resistance at all. So for example, nitazoxanide, it's an antiviral drug. We're comparing it to a drug that is commercial, which is called Tamiflu. And actually the study has 4 arms. So in one arm, the patients will get nitazoxanide. The other one, they'll get nitazoxanide and Tamiflu. The other one, Tamiflu alone or placebo.
Wow.
So this
what do you mean arms? 4 arms?
That's a great point.
I was like, what arms?
Yeah, I'm using the sort of the clinical research jargon. So basically, we are looking at randomized control studies as the basis for evidence-based medicine. We don't just practice medicine the way we want. We practice based on evidence or clinical evidence that we have. So randomized controlled studies are the best way to understand what is better than what we have, or what is better compared to not doing anything at all. And what that means is randomized is actually, we don't decide what the patient gets. It's like flipping a coin. We know what the possibilities are. They can be between 2 to 4 or 5 possibilities in a study, but we sort of flip a coin to see where the patient goes. And in many cases, we're blinded. We don't actually know what treatment the patient's getting.
And that's important not to know that.
Right, because you're biased if you know. So for example, if there's a treatment that a doctor wants to give the patient and it's a sicker patient, the doctor might tend to give that treatment to the patient. But then in the study group with the investigational device or drug, you're going to have the sicker patients. You don't want that. You want to have equal groups to be able to compare the effectiveness and the safety.
Wow.
So basically, so randomized controlled, we randomize them, and controlled means that we compare them. So we either compare them to a standard treatment or to another drug, or to nothing, actually.
To placebo?
To nothing or to placebo, right. So
can placebo, I ask you about another one which interests me? The coronary disease study. What is that and why is that so groundbreaking?
So basically, we were discussing a bit more about the drugs and the devices, but also we have to assess diagnostic devices.
Sure.
So today when a patient has slight shortness of breath, sort of symptoms that can sort of show that there might be some coronary issues, but not a heart attack, not a full-blown acute coronary syndrome, the doctor might send them for a nuclear stress test to assess the function of the heart. The problem with the nuclear stress test, not only that it's minimally invasive, you have to get an injection of the nuclear element, have some radiation and so forth. The problem is that there's a lot of false positive and false negative. So false positive meaning that the test could show that the patient has coronary disease, but the patient really does not, or false negative, that it shows that the patient does not have disease, but the patient does.
So you're looking for more accurate information.
So we're looking for more accurate information or additional tests to confirm or to show that what we've diagnosed and what is standard today, the nuclear stress test is standard. We're trying to find things that can add to that.
Fascinating.
So
let me ask you, does that device that you brought in have anything to do with this?
Yeah. So
what is that?
This is small. This is cute. What this actually does, this has been developed by a company called Cardiovascular, an American company. And it's based on sensing the acoustic sounds that we get from our coronary vessels. So basically, in coronary vessels or heart vessels that are normal, that are intact, the flow of the blood is straight. There's nothing that bothers the flow, so it's basically sort of like in straight lines.
Yep.
As opposed to when you have narrowing of the coronary vessels, which are obviously sick vessels, the blood flow will be more messy, and when it's more messy, it also creates sounds.
Hold on, is that listening to? I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yes,
this
actually this is like a computerized stethoscope in a way.
A computerized stethoscope listening to my heart,
right, and sensing the sound. So turbulent flow, which is pathological flow, could could in the future with this device say, hey, we have a problem there. So even if you have a stress test that shows that everything's okay, this might say, sorry, there's a problem here.
So not invasive.
Correct.
You're
this
not
is totally
shooting
not invasive.
no nuclear, what? So
no nuclear elements. This is simple, cheap, and a great way to possibly be instead of a nuclear stress test in the future, or maybe as an adjunct to the stress test.
How quickly is this science changing?
It's changing very quickly, but for every device like this, or drugs, which even take longer, from the moment that they're developed, there's the initial molecule, till the time it gets to a phase where it's commercial, it can easily take 10 years. When a lot of that time is actually the clinical trials. There are a lot of phases.
And the funding for the trials come from?
Many times the sponsors, those that developed, but it's a very highly regulated field. So the FDA has to approve it.
Food and Drug Administration?
Right. The Food and Drug Administration has to approve these studies and has to say, yeah, we're okay that you test these devices and drugs on humans in the U.S. They're also approved by independent review boards or institutional review boards that are actually ethical committees that say it is ethical to do this kind of assessment on humans. And beyond that, there's a lot of auditing, monitoring, inspections.
I have to ask you this before I let you out of here, because I know there are many other clinical studies going on at your place at Holy Name, but I want to try this. What caused you to want to go into this incredibly dynamic, fascinating, and important field? What caused you?
The answer's in the question. It's dynamic, it's fascinating, it's the forefront of medicine. And beyond all that, we're enhancing patient care by providing patients with drugs and devices that they wouldn't be able to get unless it was in the research setup, because they're not available commercially yet.
So patient care, improving patient care, that is what is driving you.
Totally, totally. Not just me, the whole institution, from top administration that are committed and very invested in this project and other quality projects, through myself, my team, and yeah, we're definitely there for the patients.
So interesting. People who hear about clinical trials, they sometimes lose sight of the fact that folks like yourself are in it for that reason. So I want to thank you, Dr. Ravit Barkama, who is the Executive Director of the Institute for Clinical Research up at Holy Name. I want to thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it. You explained it very well.
Thank you very much.
Stay with us. This is One on One. We'll be right back right after this. Thank you.
If you would like more information on this program, or if you'd like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Visit us online at oneonone.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Russ Jackson is a New Jersey Sharing Network volunteer and a donor recipient. He received a heart in 2010 after several years of heart failure.
Yes, congestive heart failure.
Yeah, you have an amazing story. You really do. You started experiencing heart issues back when?
Back in actually 1987. I had a 6-way bypass.
Yeah. You're a firefighter?
No, I was a police officer.
I'm sorry, you're a police officer.
Down
Where?
in Harrison.
Harrison.
Yes.
And it's so interesting. You knew you had problems with your heart. And back in 2008, when it started to get really serious, was it clear to you that you needed a new heart?
I was in denial. Okay, I was in denial till the doctor finally told me, you definitely need a heart. And the congestion got so bad that I started swelling up.
Right.
To where I couldn't even walk.
Right.
And at that point I was taken to Hackensack.
Yes.
From there I was transferred to Columbia Presbyterian in New York, where I turned around and I was told from over there that I'd be better off getting a heart because I was at the point where I was close to the end.
Right.
They suggested I go to Newark Beth Israel and re-register there, which I did, and a couple of months later I received my heart.
Yeah, let's play this out, folks. You're going to see on the screen throughout this entire segment a website from the New Jersey Sharing Network. These series of programs are being done in cooperation with the Sharing Network, which you know very well. You work with them.
Yes.
Very simply, the point of these programs is to educate people about the myths, the preconceived ideas that people have, the false ideas, and try to really provide some accurate information. And you got on the list.
Yes.
You received a heart when?
2010, December 22nd, 2010.
And the person who donated his heart to you, who was he?
Well, his name was John Kelb. I learned that out 4 months later. After I received the heart, got a letter from the donor family, and we were corresponding back and forth. Finally, the donor family said, really love to meet you.
Hold on, was this all through the...
All through the New Jersey Sharing Network.
So let's be clear, the Sharing Network plays a critical role in making that happen. It isn't like people are just talking to each other on their own.
No, what happens is the correspondence go through the New Jersey Sharing Network, and they actually check out what's in the letters. There's certain things that are not allowed to be in the letters, you know, last names, addresses, so on and so forth. But once the donor family agrees to meet with you, and you agree the same,
right,
the Sharing Network at that point will give you the information you need to make actual contact with them.
By the way, what are we looking at a picture of right there? You're meeting with the donor family? Is that what it is?
I can't see it.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, you can't see that far, but trust me. That is
Yes.
a picture of you and the donor family.
That's the first time we met in 2011.
Yeah.
We met at a diner in Freehold, and well, left to right, if you'd like to go that way. It's my wife, Barbara, Aunt Joanne, Maddie, myself. Behind me is Leanne, which is the sister-in-law.
Of John?
Of John.
John the donor.
John the donor, my donor. And then there's Joe, who is John, my donor's brother. And behind him is Uncle Ray.
Why do you say that John is a hero?
Okay, well, John, the day he passed,
he was 44 years of age?
44 years old, and he donated every major organ. It's 8 major organs. So he actually saved the lives of 9 people because they took his liver, they used it up for a 17-month-old baby also. So all his major organs were donated, plus enough skin cell, bone, and so on to help an additional 50 people. So that's like the max. I mean, that's a hero.
He did it all. And you know the other
all.
thing about this, I'm going to come back to the family in a second, Russ, but you know what's so amazing about this? As you read about this incredible story and what John did, some of the misconceptions. Someone says, oh my God, you know, what an amazing thing that John did. So I guess medical science must have mutilated his body. In fact, he was buried in an open casket.
Yes.
Now, the reason I say that is because he was able to be presented to people in a certain way, in a very public way. That is not how it happened. So that's one of the myths, right?
Yeah, well, that's what a lot of people say. The myth is that, you know, they're going to mess you all up and they're going to just throw you in the bottom and you can't be seen. But John had an open coffin. Okay, they took his corneas, everything you could think of out of him, and he was very presentable. They would never know.
And some of the other fears and some of the other myths that are important to take on head on are what?
Well, that they're not going to wait till you're dead, for one. They're going to just start taking over. They're going to make you die or whatever, which is the worst myth ever.
Yep.
You know, because they don't. Okay. Actually, the ER does not know that you're a donor.
They do not know.
They do not know. What happens is if you're close to death, they'll notify administration. Okay, and administration at that point will notify the New Jersey Sharing Network, and it works from there.
By the way, what do you do for the Sharing Network?
Well, that's a great question. I do a lot at this point, and
Like?
I enjoy every minute. Well, I now present.
You're here, that's part of your
Right,
work.
That's it. I now present to Eastwick colleges, the nursing staff, some of the nurses, and I tell my story. I tell the New Jersey Sharing Network story, all in a matter of trying to get people to become donors. Okay, I worked at motor vehicle stations.
Why motor vehicle stations? Isn't that where people decide whether they're going to?
Yes.
And I know mine, I'm only saying this because a lot of people do this. You check off, what does it say? Check off, say
A
if...
donor, you become a donor. You just check the box. That's
How
all
hard
it
is
takes.
it?
Check, well, they'll ask you, would you like to be a donor? And you say, yes, I would. Okay, check. Done.
That's it.
That's it. So
And
simple
what
it is.
you check off that box, what can you do for someone, God forbid, whatever happens, you lose your life, what can you give to other people?
Well, at the time of death is when it's decided what organs, what tissue are feasible to be used.
You
Okay.
can give life to so many others.
Yes. Like I said before, eight major organs that could save 8 people, or 9 in my donor's case, and up to 50
Yeah.
people you could help their health with. Cornea, you give
Amazing.
the sight to somebody that's never seen before. Okay, a bone, broken bone that won't heal, you can get a bone. Tissue for burn victims. Okay, so much that people could do with this, you know.
What do you think you owe John?
My life. John, because John's heart keeps beating inside of me. Okay, he makes me put my feet on the floor every day, and I walk 3 to 4 miles a day. Okay, John's done a lot for me, and I'll always honor and respect him. You know.
What do you owe his family? Because you meet them every year, don't you?
We meet every year Christmas Eve at a diner in Freehold. It's really
What's that
really
like?
great. The first time it was like kind of quiet and slow, but I found out that Aunt Joanne and Uncle Ray, he's 84, she's 80. They drove in from Rochester to visit with me, which was outstanding.
Wow.
You know? And Aunt Joanne, the first thing she did, she came over, she gave me a hug, she put her head on my chest, you know, to hear John, because she basically raised John. You know,
What's that like for you?
Tearful. I cried. I want to cry right now too. It's I really feel a lot of emotions now.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know you're doing John and his family a great service, and we thank you, and the Sharing Network is the right thing by having you on board. I want to thank you, Russ.
Thank you very much.
Just keep coming
Appreciate
back
being
and we'll
here.
tell the story. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you very much.
That was great.
Appreciate it.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by the Russell Berry Foundation, Cohn Resnick, the Fidelco Group, Fedway Associates, New Jersey Sharing Network, Kessler Foundation, and by the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, founded by the Jewish community. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System.